That. Okay, so this week I decided to do chapter 81, which is the Shir Shel Yom of Thursday. It's, I don't know if you call it Hashkacha Pratis or you call it Fluk, but I decided to do the Hashkacha, to do the Shir Shel Yom of Thursday, and only then realized that it's chapter 81, which works out really well because last week we did chapter 80, and it follows on very nicely from chapter 80. So that's where we are. If anybody has a specific kapitel of Tehillim that they are interested in learning, you should let me know. I would be happy. I mean, I'm preparing either way, so I'm happy to prepare something that people dafka want to hear. So as I said, this is the Shir Shel Yom of Thursday, and the Gemara tells us that the reason that it's the Shir Shel Yom for Thursday is because on Thursday the fish and the birds were created, and fish and birds don't have to work very hard in order to get food. It's all around them. They provided completely by Hashem, everything by Hashem, but on the other hand, they're very hunted. So while it's easy for them to find food and that way to live, they survive totally by the kindness of Hashem. And that should be a little bit of the mood that we're seeing when we look at this chapter, that everything is around us, mitzvahs and provisions, the things we need to live, and it's there. But there's also a lot of predators trying to make sure that we don't survive. And so we are like the fish and the birds who are created on a Thursday. This chapter of Tehillim was said or read or sung, whichever word you want to use, in the Beis Hamikdash on Rosh Hashanah. And interesting there, the commentaries say that the shofar, blowing of the shofar nowadays even, is a replacement for the Nevi'im. So in those days, on Rosh Hashanah, people were really, really aware of the feeling that you need to do teshuvah on Rosh Hashanah in order that Hashem should judge you nicely, please God. But nowadays we don't have Nevi'im who are sitting around and telling us that and saying to us, do teshuvah, follow Hashem, do these. We don't have that anymore. So every time we hear the shofar, it's instead of a Navi, instead of a prophet saying to us, serve Hashem, do teshuvah. And so that's the Rosh Hashanah, element of this kapitel. We also told that this kapitel is about Yosef. Okay, so Yosef being freed from prison. And Yosef being freed from prison, traditionally it was Rosh Hashanah night that, and finally the butler remembered him, and he remembered him, and he came and he got him out of prison and took him to interpret Paro's dreams and Rosh Hashanah night. Also, interestingly, that our Geula, the first redemption that we had from Egypt, although it happens at Pesach time, and we celebrate Pesach as our Yontif of Geula, our Yontif of being taken out of Egypt. Actually, the Jews stopped their slavery, the actual work of slavery, on the Rosh Hashanah before, a few months before the exodus from Egypt. We stopped working, we stopped slaving. So that's a little bit of the different things that we're going to come across in this kapitel, with its various themes. Let's have a look at it inside. It begins, Lamnatzeach al Hagitis la'asaf. So in simple, how we understand this, Asaf, as we mentioned last time, the son of Gershon, the grandson of Levi, the chief singer in the Beis Hamikdash, and he wrote, as we said last time, a whole lot of kapitlach of Tehillim. So at simple level, it's telling us that this is a song by Asaf, and he gives instructions to the conductors and the singers in the Beis Hamikdash who are going to sing it. So we read it as Lam Natseach, to the choir master or to the conductor. Al Hagitis, Gittis was the kind of instrument that had to be used for that they played on when they read this kapitel of Tehillim. And most of the commentaries explain simply that the Gittis was made in a town called Gat. I always wonder because there still is a place in Israel called Gat, but I don't think they make musical instruments there anymore. They have a big yeshiva that two of my sons went to, but say the commentaries that this place called Gat was a place where they made musical instruments, very good musical instruments. And so this is what Asaf was saying: when you sing this song in the Beis Hamikdash, use the gittis, use the particular instruments that are made in this expert place for accompanying this particular song. So that's in simple. Let's understand it in a little bit more deeply as we did last time. So if you remember, at the end of the last kapitel, it refers very much to the Jewish people as being a vine, being grapes, and being a vine. So if you just glance back, if you're using a text, so if you remember that, if you look all the way back to the 15th pasuk of the last parak, it refers to the Jewish people as Geffen, and the next pasuk refers to the Jewish people as a vine. Okay, v'chana asher nata yeminecha, and we speak about how Hashem planted us, He moved us from Egypt to Israel, and we are this vine. Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch comments that gittis also means a wine press, and he says, what is it that makes wine good? And we commented a little bit about this last week, that when you press grapes, then it makes wine. So he says how Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch says, if you are looking to get Mashiach, if you're looking for redemption, if you're looking for survival even during Galus, sometimes you have to look at what's pressing you, what's pushing you and making you grow, what's challenging you, what's motivating us and inspiring us. And we have to go through the pressing process. In other words, we have to become wine. We have to not just remain grapes, which are good, which are nice, but we have to survive the pressing and become wine. So he says, coming back to have a look at this pasuk, understanding it more deeply, lam natseach, as we explained last time, that the word lam natseach doesn't only mean to the conductor, but it contains in it the word nitzachon, victory. So lam natseach, to the one who wants to become victorious, al hagitis, through all his pressings. In other words, someone who can look at all their challenges and all the different things that they've gone through, easy challenges, difficult challenges, and they can look at all their pressings and say to themselves, I've become good wine. He's lam natseach, we are lam natseach. We have been victorious over our challenges and our tests. Then what will happen, la asaf, asaf has in it the word asifa, or gathering, and it says then we can know that we have the promise that Hashem will do kibbutz galios, the gathering of the exiles. In other words, He will start the process of Mashiach coming. So that's the introduction to this perek. In other words, says Asaf, the writer of this perek. What are we speaking about here? We're speaking about practical ways to bring Mashiach, practical ways to even be freed from our local exiles and be great in our exile. That's what he's going to be addressing in this kapitel of Tehillim. And so he tells us the first way, number one way, which is in pasuk beis. He says, Harninu lalekim uzeinu, sing to God, who is our strength. Hariu lalekei Yaakov, sing out to the God of Yaakov. There are lots of different ways of saying singing. And this way, harninu, to sing out like this, is talking about very joyous, loud, noisy singing. That's what it means. And so what Asaf is telling us, sing out very loudly. Okay, sing loudly, be contagious. So you know how it is. Sometimes you sing a song just in your head, and sometimes you sing a song that the people around you can hear and they catch on. And sometimes there are songs that we all catch on to. So we find ourselves singing the songs that are around us. So I don't know how many of you listen to Chai FM, but almost every day they play Benny Friedman's song Charasho, which means it's good, right? It's good. And very often during the day, I hear myself saying Charasho, Charasho, okay, which I'm not Russian speaking, but the tune of it, just the way that he sings it, says to me, it's good, life is good, right? And you feel upbeat because you're saying that. So even if you're feeling really low, and I don't know, in Cape Town, if you're having miserable weather like we have here in Johannesburg, but I'm really a sunshine person. And when I wake up in the morning and it's overcast, I feel horrible. I actually ask myself, why are you in a bad mood? You have nothing to be in a bad mood about today. Oh, it's the weather. Okay, it's the weather. And then you play over a song, something in your head that says it's good, life is great. And it raises your mood. Interestingly, that's what song does for us. And many times through Tehillim, David HaMelech says to us, sing. Use the medium of singing to move you to the mood that you want to be. In other words, fake it. Okay, you don't have to be feeling good to sing a happy song, but singing a happy song is likely to make you feel good. In fact, David HaMelech inspires us that whenever we need to feel in any kind of mood, we should sing a song. Okay, that tunes, songs move us to feel different things. And that's if you in a shul that has a good chazan, one of the things that make a chazan good is not just his voice, it's his understanding of how to move our mood through the tune that he chooses for the song. So very much when we sing Ashamnu Bagadnu and we sing it to a tune that everybody knows, okay, and we feel like, oi, Ashamnu, I sinned. Remember one year we had a chazan who didn't know exactly what he was reading, and he practiced very hard, and he came into shul and he started singing Ashamnu Bagadnu in this happy tune, right? Like Saranum. I was like, what? Okay, what just happened? We're supposed to be feeling all repentant and we're supposed to be feeling all sorry for the sins we did, but the tune that the chazan sang moved us into this what happy, this is what I did. So very much David HaMelech says, use the right music, use the right tunes, but use it. And it doesn't matter who you are, and it doesn't matter how well or not you sing, but says David HaMelech, sing, harninu lelekim, sing out to God, because it's the singing that actually changes our moods. And with our singing, we are able to bring ourselves to a happier place, a pensive place, a sadder place, whatever it is that we want to do with our singing. And you don't have to sing well. We Chaikins, we can't keep tune, and we love to sing anyway. That's so David HaMelech says, sing, okay, harninu lelekim. This is the first step towards bringing Mashiach, is moving yourself to the correct moods with singing. The Rebbe comments that this singing that's in speaking about here is like a war cry. When do soldiers sing their war cry? Before they've won, right? And you always think that this is such a funny concept. You're marching out to war, you don't know if you're going to win or lose, and you sing a song. Even smaller than that, like sports days, the children all go out to play sports, and they don't know if their team is going to win or not, but there they are singing, we are the best, better than the rest, right? Why? They don't know that they're the best, and they don't know that they're better than the rest. And so why are they singing it? This comes from David HaMelech. He says, before you go into war, start off by singing. And the Rebbe says that if you go into your war, and each of us fights a war every day, okay, we fight the war with our Yetzer Hara and with the world around us, sing, okay? In other words, believe in yourself, believe that you are the best, better than the rest. And that's the first step that's going to bring you to the place that you need to be. And the first step that we need to get Mashiach. That's just a very practical, ordinary thing of telling us what to do. In the parsha where Yaakov's sons come to him, and they tell him that they are they need to go to Egypt to get food, and they need to take Binyamin with them. And Yaakov really doesn't want that to happen. He's scared that something will happen to Binyamin on the way. He doesn't know that Yosef is there in Egypt, and he's been putting it off, and it looks like everyone's going to die of hunger. And finally, the brothers come to Yaakov and they say, look, we can't put this off anymore. If we don't go and we don't take Binyamin with us, everyone's going to die. Okay, we're all going to die of hunger. So Yaakov allows them to go, but he gives them a lot of instructions. And one of the instructions he gives them, very interestingly, he says, "Kachu mizimra sa'aretz," which translates as take from the best things of the land. And the commentaries tell us that he was talking about various spices that you could only get in Israel. He was talking about nuts that they did still have in Israel. He was talking about precious gemstones. He says, take from the best, mizimra sa'aretz, from the best of the land, and give it to that man. He didn't know that that man was Yosef, and maybe he'll be kind to you. And immediately some of the Mepharshim ask, what a strange word for saying, take from the best of the land. Kachu mizimra sa'aretz. And the Rebbe over there explains, he says, it's a play on words. Zimra sa'aretz, from the word zmira, mizmor, the song. Okay, when you go down to Egypt now and you're absolutely petrified because you don't know what that man is going to do to you, and you don't know if he's going to take Binyamin or he's not going to take Binyamin, and you don't know what's going to happen to you, how should you go? Confidently. And Yaakov gives his sons a tip. How can you go confidently? Sing. Chumi zimra sa'aretz. Go singing, okay? Sing as you go down. In other words, go with confidence, and you'll be okay. And Asaf tells us over here in this thing, he says, not just regular singing, but Sa'uz Zimra, sing loud, Usnu Taif, and you Kinar Noim Im Novel, and use all different kinds of musical instruments, drums, tambourines, harps, right? You like be really confident, put a lot of effort into moving yourself into this confident mood. And then he says, a new thought. Okay, the new thought is Tiku b'chayda shofar. So this is a pasuk that most of us recognize well. Blow at the beginning of the month the shofar. In other words, talking about on Rosh Hashanah, where we blow shofar. Especially there for the day of our holiday. And we could go into, but I'm not going into all the reasons why blowing a shofar on Rosh Hashanah makes us feel good. Okay, it makes us feel ready to face Hashem. It's a triumphant sound of winning, of confidence. So we have all those reasons, but I want to home in on the words Tiku b'chodesh shofar, which blow on the month the shofar. And if you have a look at the word b'chodesh, the month, you can also see in it the word chadash, which means new. And again here, Asaf is giving us a tip in how to face like bringing Mashiach. Chadash, new, say the commentaries, that when we do mitzvahs, we always start off enthusiastic. It's very hard to keep up enthusiasm. So the first time we do it, it's great, and we like really into it and everything. The second time we do it, it's not so great, right? And then we get bored, okay, and we hope we carry on doing it, but we don't have the same excitement for mitzvah the 350th time as we had the first time. And Asaf says, you know what you have to work on? Tiku b'chadash. Make it that every time you blow shofar, it's like brand new, like you never did it before. And so the commentaries, not just shofar, but all mitzvahs. If every mitzvah we did, every time we did it, we felt enthusiastic about it. And we imagined that this is the first time I'm ever doing this, and therefore I want to do it properly. So this is the next step, okay, of bringing us to this confidence that we need, or to this movement that we need to bring Mashiach, absolutely. He explains to us in Pasuk Hey, he says, Ki chayk leYisrael hu, that which is a chayk, a law for us, hu mishpat Elokei Yaakov. It's judgment, so to speak, to the God of Yaakov. So at simple level, what we're saying is that it's a law for us to blow shofar. We're not told, we give a whole lot of reasons, but it's not for sure those reasons. But that's the law. It's the day that Hashem is judging us. It's Mishpat Elokei Yaakov. And so one of the things we do is we blow shofar. full stop. Understanding this at a level like our own understanding of this, a little bit slightly deeper in this. One of the troubles, or probably the biggest one of the troubles that we have in our galus, in our exile, is that we don't understand the way Hashem runs the world. We cannot understand the way Hashem runs the world. So most of the things that we see that Hashem does, chayk, to us, it's like a chayk. So a chayk is a kind of a mitzvah that we have no reason for it. We don't know why. We don't know why Hashem says this is what we have to do. We just do it. So you can't explain why we keep kosher. We keep it because it's a chayk, because Hashem says so. And Mepharshim explained to us that actually everything that goes on in the world is a chayk. We have no understanding of how Hashem is running his world. And that's our biggest problem. Because when we like what we see, then we think we understand it. And we say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Hashem is doing that. When we don't like what we see of the way the world is running, then we start questioning it. And that's when we feel challenged. And that's when we feel low. And that's when we feel like where is God? What is going on? So when the world is a chayk to us, when the world is incomprehensible and we can't understand what's going on in the world, we should know that to Hashem, Yaakov, to God, mishpat. It makes complete sense, right? Because mishpatim are the mitzvahs that make sense. In other words, Hashem knows exactly what he's doing, even when we don't. Hashem knows exactly what he's doing, even when we don't like it. And if we remind ourselves of that all the time, ki chayk Yisrael, that which we don't understand, that doesn't make sense to us, who mishpat, it's actually understandable, it's planned, and that's how it is. The Leikei Yaakov, to Hashem, the God of the Yidden. So that's the next thing. So far, Asaf has given us 3 thoughts on how to get ourselves ready for Mashiach. Firstly, sing. In other words, be confident. Secondly, make all your mitzvahs as though they're brand new. Be motivated, be inspired. And the third thing, that which really bothers you, that you don't understand the way Hashem is running his world, know in your head that Hashem knows how he's running his world. There's nothing that's just happened. It's mishpat Leikei Yaakov. Hashem knows how he's running his world. He now carries on with the next point, and he says, and this is Pasuk Vav for anyone who's following, says, Eidus, it's a testimony, Bihosef to Yosef, Shama b'tzeisa al eretz Mitzrayim, when you put him, when he went out on the land of Egypt, Tzfas lo yadaiti eshma, and a language which didn't know, he heard. So this is historically hinting at or pointing at Yosef, that Yosef was saved he's been 10 years in prison, and he's now saved, and he comes out, and he becomes the leader, second to the king in Egypt, and he walks out there. The big thing that happens over here is that Yosef that night learned 70 languages. It says that the Malach came to him in the night. There are 2 different midrashim. The one says the Malach Michael, the other one says Malach Gabriel, whoever it is, an angel came to him and taught him 70 languages in one night. He needed to know all 70 languages in order to be promoted to second to Paro, because that was in the constitution of Egypt, that the leader had to know all 70 languages. It's hinted at in this pasuk that the pasuk begins with an ayin and ends with an ayin. In some editions of the Tehillim, the ayin is big. Ayin is gematria, numerical value 70. And so we have this hint that Yosef learned all 70 languages that day. You've probably taken notice, if you are following, that it doesn't say Yosef, but it says Yehosef, right? It's got an extra hey in his name. And it says that Yosef was given this extra hey in his name as a reward for the Kiddush Hashem that he made by not succumbing to Mrs. Potiphar. So we don't often think about the greatness of Yosef, an 18-year-old boy who's being targeted by a lady, and day after day after day. It wasn't a one-off thing. It was actually over a year that she asked him every single day and tried every different method. You're so beautiful, you're so handsome, I'm so beautiful, no one will know. And she carried on at him for a full year. Threats, promises, bribes, every single way, and Yosef did not succumb to her. In fact, the Medrash tells us that Yosef bought himself or made himself a necklace that had very sharp edges, a thick necklace, and he wore it at all times, so that if he would look down at her, he would actually cut his jugular and he would die. So he was making sure that he did not fall prey to her, which if he had to go to such drastic measures to stop himself from it, shows us the level of temptation that he had. And he still put things in place that he shouldn't go to her. He then, as a result of not listening to her, he lands up in prison, not just for a short amount of time. He's accused of raping her, and he lands up in prison for 10 years. And this is unbelievable, okay, it's unbelievable. And so says the Mechaber David HaMelech, we will call him Yehoisef. We will add him a hey. We'll show you the godliness in this man. I have a practice where I teach. Anytime I teach the story of Yosef to girls' school, I always say Yosef HaTzadik. Okay, he is referred to as Yosef HaTzadik, and the reason is I think we have to keep on reminding ourselves what a righteous man Yosef was. We look at him and we think about like the horrible things he did to his brothers, and we concentrate so much on the negative of Yosef. He curled his eyelashes, he did this, that. And if we have to remind ourselves over and over and over again, Yosef was a tzaddik, and his brothers were the shiftei koch. They were they were the holy tribes of the Yidden. We have to keep on reminding ourselves. And here David HaMelech gives us another way to remind ourselves of the greatness of Yosef by putting a hey, reminding us that Yosef was filled with Hashem. He was filled with godliness. Another explanation altogether is that Yehoisef doesn't mean just Yosef, but it means the Jews. Means that the Bnei Israel, the nation of Jews who lived in Egypt. One of the reasons that the Jews were freed from Egypt is because they didn't start speaking the language. We spoke about this a little bit when we learned the Hallel, but one of the main reasons that Hashem freed the Jews from Egypt was because they kept their language among themselves. They did not speak Egyptian. They spoke Lashon HaKodesh, their own language, and this is one of the things that kept them. And so if you look in this pasuk, you see a hint to that where it says Eidos, there's testimony B'Yosef for the Jewish people, okay, that when they went B'Tzeisa El Eretz Mitzrayim, when they walked around the land of Egypt, Svas Lo Yadati, the language of Egypt, they didn't know, they didn't get involved in that at all. Pasuk Zayin, okay, so he says I lifted from their shoulders their troubles, their slavery, and I removed from their hands all their burdens. So this is Hashem saying, I rewarded the Yidden for what they did. But Sarah Karasa v'achal tzeka, when they were in trouble, you called out, and I saved you. And I answered you, but say so that which you cried out to me privately, Ra'am, out loud. Evchancha, I tested you, Almei Meriva, the bitter waters, Selah, forever. So historically, this pasuk is saying to us that when the Jews called out to Hashem, he answered us, he took us out of Egypt. He tested us, okay? Even he tested us, and the one test that we really flopped was the story of the bitter waters, where instead of saying Hashem will help us, we Jews went mad and said, water, we can't drink this water, right? It's bitter and we're going to die of thirst. It was one of the many times, but the Meimah River, they really flopped out over there. And Hashem says, yet, even though, okay, you flopped, even though you didn't pass that test, Selah, I still am with you for always. And he continues and he says, Shema Ami, listen to me, my nation, Va'ida Bach Yisrael, and I will answer you, Yisrael, Im Tishmali, if you listen to me. So so this sounds like so simple. Hashem says, if you listen to me, I promise you that I'll look after you. I'll just if you listen to me. And the Medrash tells us, the famous Medrash tells us that the Jewish people heard the first two commandments from Hashem, and then they decided they couldn't handle that anymore. We can't manage this. We don't want to listen to you anymore. And they started calling to Moshe. So Moshe, we're all going to die if we listen to Hashem. Please, you tell us the rest of the commandments. And that's what happened. So here says David HaMelech, what Hashem was saying to us is, Shema Ami, if you, the nation of Israel, had listened, if we had listened to Hashem, say all 10 of the commandments, our Yetzer Haras would have been gone for always. That would have, what it would have killed is not us as humans, but it would have killed our Yetzer Haras absolutely and completely. But the Yidden panicked and they refused to listen anymore. And so that's why till today, we still have Yetzer Haras that we have to fight. So Hashem says over here, if you had listened to me, then pasuk yod lo yihi yevacha el zar, you wouldn't have any strange gods, v'lo tishtachaveh el nechar, and you would not have bowed down to foreign gods. And the commentaries explain to us that an el zar, a strange god, is talking about the Yetzer Hara, because El, Aleph and Lamed, is actually Hashem's name. We say Kel, and Zar, strange. How could you have Hashem strange? That could only be the Yetzer Hara. And why the Yetzer Hara? Because the Yetzer Hara, interestingly, has good and bad in it. It has Kel, it has godliness, and it also has Zar, it has strangeness, it has bad. So what's the good in the Yetzer Hara? The Yetzer Hara is actually the most well-behaved of all of Hashem's creations. It does exactly what Hashem told it to do. Go out and make Rivki Chaikin sin. And it does. It just does. Okay, it goes out and does it. Better than any other creation, the Yetzer Hara listens to Hashem. That's the good in it. And even in ourselves, the good in the Yetzer Hara is that there are certain traits of the Yetzer Hara that we need in order to serve Hashem. So the one that Rashi brings is, he says, anger comes from the Yetzer Hara. And we all need to have some level of anger, because we have to get cross with things that are wrong, right? That someone who does bad, there has to be a level of anger. But if we get totally involved in it, if we get totally overcome by the Yetzer Hara, then we finished. Okay, then it's strange. And so this is what's strange about the Yetzer Hara, is that we have to have a little bit of it. Rashi actually comments in Shema that one of the big things that we're obligated to do is to serve Hashem with both our Yetzer Hara and our Yetzer Tov. So it makes sense to us that we serve Hashem with our Yetzer Tov. Some voice in our head that says, Rivki, do this mitzvah, and I do it, right? That's all the Yetzer Tov. But we also have to serve Hashem with the Yetzer Hara. The ultimate way of serving Hashem with the Yetzer Hara is getting rid of the Yetzer Hara, okay? When we can reach the level where we don't need Yetzer Hara anymore and we wipe it out. But on the way up, okay, as we're getting there, we have to learn how to use that which we need of the Yetzer Hara in order to serve Hashem. So this is Hashem saying, had you listened to me, say the first, all of the 10 commandments, instead of just the first 2, your Yetzer Hara would have been wiped out. You wouldn't have this challenge that we have now. What happens to us, that because we do have this Elzar, we do have this strange God, we also land up having El Nechar, which means a foreign God. What's the foreign God is when we translate that which is in our heads, the Yetzer Hara, into actions in the world. So let's say for the Jewish people, the strange God was that they panicked and wanted a new God when they thought Moshe wasn't there. The foreign God was that they actually went and made it. Okay, that's the difference between the two things. Pasuk Yud Aleph says, Hashem, he continues talking to us, says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I'm Hashem your God, Ha'ma'alcha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, who brought you up from the land of Egypt, Harchev Picha V'amal'ehu, open your mouths and I will fill it. So this is like a pasuk we should actually be reminding ourselves of all the time. Hashem wants, he helped us, he brought us out of Egypt, and he wants us to open up our mouths and he'll fill it. He'll fill us, he'll give us what he needs. And he uses the word, and we use it quite often, he brought us up out of the land of Egypt. So we always speak about Hashem as bringing us up out of Egypt, not just geography, that going from Egypt to Israel is going up, but anytime we physically go to the land of Israel, we call it going up, right? And this is really because it's not just physical. Israel has some of the lowest places in the world, but that it's spiritual. You go to Israel, you are going up, even if you don't realize it. Just the act of going to Israel is an act of going upwards spiritually. But more than this, or deeper than this, Sidus explains to us, is that Hashem brought us up out of Egypt actually means that Hashem raised us out of our own Mitzrayim. Each of us has our own Mitzrayim, our own Egypt, our own limitations, that which keeps us from growing spiritually. And no two people have the same Egypt. Every single one of us has a different Egypt. And Hashem is there ready to free us from our own personal Egypt. He's prepared to raise us up, raise us out of our Egypt. And this is the greatness of Hashem. And then he says, open your mouths and I'll feed you. Commentaries all say, ask Hashem for whatever you want. Keep on asking Hashem for what you want. Don't ever feel I've asked him for too much, right? I can't ask Hashem for anything. I keep asking him. The more we ask Hashem for, the more we are showing how much we believe in him. The more we ask Hashem for, the more we are showing our emunah in him. And so ask and ask and ask and nag. Okay, keep on asking Hashem for everything. Not asking Hashem for what we want is actually limiting Hashem. I remember once, the story made such a strong impression on me. I was talking to a mentor of mine, actually, and I was saying I had been blessed with quite a few children by that time, Baruch Hashem, and of course I wanted more children, but I felt very happy that Hashem had blessed me with children. And a good friend of mine was still waiting for the bracha of having children. And I said to this person, this mentor of mine, I said to him, I wish I could tell Hashem that instead of giving me more children, I'm prepared to, big great me, I'm prepared to give up having another child, and that family should get a child, should get the blessing of a child. And he looked at me and he said, you have such a chutzpah. Okay, you have such a chutzpah. So I said, yeah, like I thought I'm making such an unbelievable offer. And he said to me, do you think that Hashem can't give you both children? Why are you limiting Hashem? Ask for yourself to have children and ask for your friend to have children. The one thing doesn't contradict the other. It was such an important lesson for me. Hashem is not limited. Hashem can do everything and anything. The more trust we have in Hashem, we ask him, we tell him what we want, we tell him what we need. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. And Hashem tells us that. He says, just open up your mouth so that I can fill it. This is encouraging us to daven and daven and daven and ask for the things that we need. Pasuk Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, Sad Psukim, Hashem says, my nation didn't listen to my voice. And the Jewish people didn't want me. So what happened? I let them do what their hearts desired. I let them go according to their own sense, their own ideas. And he says, Pasuk Yudalad, Lu ami shame'ali. If only you, my nation, would listen to me. Yisrael b'drachaya halechu, and the Yidden would go in my ways. Then what? Kimat aveihem achnia, I would wipe out their enemies quickly. V'al tzareihem ashiv yadi, and I would punish their enemies, their tormentors, with my hand. Masanei Hashem yechacha shulai v'hi itam la'elam. Those who hate Hashem, I would silence them and I would be with them forever. So Hashem is telling us, if we would just listen to him and try and do what he wants, he's prepared to fight our battles and do our wars for us. And he finishes off with a pasuk of hope, of winning, of triumph. V'achilehu, I would feed all of you. Mechelev chita, from the fat of the wheat. Umitzur devash, and from a rock honey, as bi'eka, I would make you full. This is a promise for the future that Hashem will look after us, please God, with everything good. And here it's talking not just spiritually, but even physically. Hashem would fill us with the fat of the earth, the honey out of rocks, right? And he would make us, and he will make us satisfied with everything. We already have a taste of this because it's too hard for us even to begin to imagine how Hashem could do this. So we have the taste of this that already Hashem gave us Chelev Chita, he gave us the man. Tsudevash, the honey out of a rock, the sweet waters that he granted to us. And even if that's too far back for us to remember, just the fact that we have tables that are laden with food and we enjoy, and we call that celebrating Hashem, because we have all of that in order to show Hashem how much we love him on Shabbos and Yom Tov, and he accepts that from us. This is all a foretaste of the absolute blessings that Hashem is going to give us when Mashiach comes, please God. Interestingly, there is such a custom that we all have taken, which is to dip apple in honey on Rosh Hashanah. It's the source is in this pasuk, Mitzudavashas Bi'eko, that a taste of winning, a taste of victory, a taste of Hashem being happy with us and giving us what we need, is Hashem's promise to us that he will feed us with the honey of a rock. And that brings us to the end of this chapter. That's that for today. Wish you all a good day.